Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be taking you through a basic demo of the current functionality offered in Estimit. One of our main focuses during the development of Estimit was to create a tool that could analyze your past project data and present the results to you in a format that is digestible. To show you how we've accomplished that goal, we'll start by going into one of our estimated projects. So we'll go into this project here. As you can see, on the left there's a brief summary of the data laid out that can be changed at any time by clicking here. On the right, we've included some predictions for your project based on similar past projects that we found. So for this project, we found 14 completed projects from your data. Based on an analysis of those projects, we believe that the actual cost of this project will likely be higher than your current estimate. We then give our own estimate alongside a predicted range. We then also provide basic recommendations if the number of developers or turnarounds of past projects had a noticeable effect on the costs. So we can dive into those costs more in the next tab. So the first thing you're going to notice is some basic statistics from the similar past projects that we found, as well as a basic breakdown of estimated cost versus the actual cost, as well as a line of best fit. So some of the more interesting graphs we have are at the bottom here. So the first one is for staffing versus projected cost. And what this presents is based on the data from other similar projects, adjusted for size, this graph represents a projection for how much the cost could change based on the number of developers. And then similarly, the cost versus turnaround graph shows a projection for how the cost will likely be affected based on the length of time allowed for the project. So the intuition here is that cramming a large project into a small amount of time will result in more developers and more development hours overall, and will likely cause the price of the project to go up. Now, note that this is for this data in particular. That doesn't mean your project data will necessarily look like this. That's just for this data. So now we can go over to completion to look at some of the data for the projected turnaround. So we can look at past estimated turnarounds versus how long the projects actually took, as well as a similar graph view with another line of best fit, and then an expected versus target completion graph. This graph breaks down the completion percentage by week for both your targeted end date as well as our current projected end date for your project. So now we're going to go back to the main list and look at a different kind of project, namely a bottom-up project instead of a ballpark. So what we just viewed was a ballpark project, which is a project where the estimate for the entire project was one high-level lump sum. We're now looking at a bottom-up project where the estimate is built from the ground up by estimating the individual project stories. So the first three tabs for this type of project will be exactly the same as the ballpark project. The difference comes in when we get to the stories tab, where we have a list of stories. Now there's a lot to go over. There's a lot going on in this tab. So I'll go through a few of the main things one by one. So first, we have stories. A user story is essentially one small piece of functionality describing an individual task an end user could complete. We also have a template structure in place. So if you have stories you want to reuse in multiple projects, you can create them as templates. With templates, not only can you quickly add them to any project with a click of a button, so if I had, for this, for example, I could click Add to Project, and it would just be in the project, and I could do that for an unlimited number of projects. You can also view basic estimated versus actual hour statistics for past completed projects where they're utilized. This allows you to continually improve estimates at the story level from project to project, not just at the project level. So, for example, if one of these templates had been used in 5 projects in the past, and your average hours estimated was 30, but your average hours logged was 50, you would know that for that individual story, you need to be You either need to find out how to become more efficient at it or raise your initial estimates to be more realistic. Okay, so then we have chapters, which you can see if you, by raising this down, you can add chapters using that buttons. These are essentially just subtasks, mainly for when you need to break down a story a little bit more, especially from a technical perspective. We have custom ranking of the stories. So if this story should actually be way down here, you can just put it there at any time. You can edit the individual values in line, and everything will adjust and save accordingly. And we have a simple flagging system in place. So say story number 11 is actually blocked by story number 16. We can flag it. Oh, I already had it blocked by 17. We'll change it to 16. And then when you go over it, it's blocked by story number 16. If at any time you decide it's not anymore, you can remove it. So next we'll take a look at epics. An epic is a collection of stories, also known as a feature. Building a list of epics can really help during the requirements gathering and road mapping phases of the project specifically. So here you have some basic statistics for tracking the feature in terms of the status, number of stories completed, remaining stories, and the total estimated hours for the stories. So we can go into an individual feature and see the individual stories that are included within this feature. We can edit the fields for these stories any way we'd like within the feature, and those changes will be reflected in the main story as well. We can also change the story rank specifically for this feature. This will not be reflected outside. It's just if you want to have them in a certain order within the feature. So a couple other things I wanted to show are the templates, which is a list where you can create and manage the available templates for your stories. And then you can add them within the projects as I showed before. There's also a statistics tab where you can view the statistics of your past projects without having to create a new similar project. So if you have a bunch of past data and you want to view all of that data in a format that actually helps you make sense of the data, this tab is for you. So that's all of the main functionality for now. If you have any questions or if you would like to know more about our services for helping you get your completed project data entered into the system efficiently, don't hesitate to contact us at support@estimit.io. Thanks.